everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode of your news roundup. It's Francis. I had a bit of a day today. I always record these. I start the process on Monday, and then it goes up Friday or goes up on Wednesday. But I had jury duty today, and generally I'm big on I'm all about being on jury duty. I have a job that pays me to be on jury duty. I also have I have reasonable intelligence, and I kind of know a thing or two about a thing or two, so I'm just like, okay, I should, and I've been on juries in the past before, so I think, I should try to be on. I did not get picked. It was for a murder trial, too, and they're like, was going to go till Thursday. I was like, well, I don't know about all that, but I did not get picked. I told my wife, I was like, it's very strange, they didn't really ask me any questions. There's a lot of other questions that went around. And she's like, well, were you dressed the way that you are currently dressed now? And the way I was currently dressed is, and I will have you know, I pulled two other T-shirts out before I put this one on because I said no, okay, this one seems normal enough. It's a Rescue Rangers, the cartoon, the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, but it's about like a Monterey Jack's cheese shop. But it's, it was kind of subdued. It wasn't the first thing that I pulled out, which was my big red Scrooge McDuck t-shirt. And it wasn't the one that I pulled out after that, which is the Super Daddy-O, Super Mario kind of thing. My kid's got one that says Super Kiddo. I have one that says Super Daddy-O. I said no to those two, and then I put on the Rescue Rangers t-shirt and a pair of Kirkland Union Bay Costco shorts, my cargo shorts, and some slip-on moccasin Merrell. So, and not even my gut. Like I have two pairs. I have you always have multiple pairs of shoes in various disarrays. I didn't even wear my nice ones. So, more than likely they're like, this guy just looks like a complete schlub. And God bless my wife. She's just like, I think you look good in that, but it's not exactly a professional look, which to be fair, I spend most of my days in this box here, in this 7x10 pod shack that I have built for myself where nobody cares what I wear. Sometimes when it's hot enough, I don't have pants on at all. So why anywhere? I do have pants on today. Don't worry about it. I have my shorts on, but, I'm used to being in a certain level of comfort that jury duty's always been like my wife and I joked about it back in the day. It was fun. You get a little time off work, you go hang out, you read a book. I don't know. Now that I'm a little bit older, it's a lot more irritating. I don't like being around other people anymore, especially strangers. Because I spend my time in this box where the only thing I smell is my weed and my own farts, which I'm sure is not a great scent either, but I've just gotten used to not smelling other people for a very long time. So I having to be around people, having to be close to somebody sitting next to me and on the other side, which is overall a very uncomfortable kind of situation. But glad to do my civic duty. Glad to, go on out there. The city of St. Louis, our circuit court has a lot of crime to go through, and we have a dwindling amount of people that they can pull from. We're only at 300,000 people in the city of St. Louis, so you get picked a lot. There's 28 months, I believe, is what the judge said, and he's like, yeah, that's why after 28 months, boom, you get another one. So, 2 more years, we'll see where we stand. Again, I'm always big on doing jury duty. And then I almost set my house on fire. We have a ceramic cooktop that's in the countertop, and we have a cover for it that, when the cooktop's not being used, put the cover on it. The cover keeps it protected. You can put shit on top of it. Apparently, I did not turn one of the burners off completely, and it melted right through that and just made the entire house reek of melted plastic. So that's also going on. Luckily we got all that taken care of. Laundry is being done. The kid is in bed. It's fine. The house is not actually on fire, but it was after a while it got kind of hard to just be drag myself out here and do this. But I'm glad I did. I like coming out here. I like doing these things. We got stuff to talk to. Because, like, there's a couple things, but there's one big thing that I want to talk about that I know a lot of people kind of talked about it last week. I want to talk about it this week as well. So let's go ahead and jump into our first thing. So this opinion piece from Bo Bergdahl about... See, they make it seem about Bo Bergdahl. So it's written by this guy, Nick Kaufman, who is the director of communications here. I'll read this for you. 5 years in the Marines, investigators, blah, blah, blah. United American Patriots Incorporated to defend our nation's warriors. What that means, like, supported by is war criminals. Clint Lawrence. This whole thing is talking about how, what's his name, who, Bales, Robert Bales, who fucking murdered 16 people, 11 of them being children. And then outright admitted, it's like, hey, I did it. And this guy, for some reason, Task and Purpose gave this guy column inches. Like, this guy whose entire thing is defending literal war criminals. And we have said this multiple times on our website, or on podcast website, what have you. Me, Nate, Joe, anybody who's been in the military for an extended period of time, if you are in the Army and you go to war and you do something that leads you to go to jail for doing a war crime, you did that war crime. Like, the military doesn't want to send people to jail for doing war crimes at all. Like, they will bend over backwards to protect soldiers from war crimes things. But so, like, if you do it and you get convicted, you did it. So this whole article by this fucking ghoul of a human being is put out arguing about, and it's arguing about why Bergdahl is free while these other guys are still behind bars. Bergdahl got his sentence vacated because Donald Trump couldn't shut his fucking mouth. That is literally the long and the short of it. They knew, like, because his trial was coming up during Trump administration, and Trump just kept tweeting about how he's guilty and we shouldn't allow him, blah blah blah. And the judge is like, literally, he's not going to get a fair trial. Was Bergdahl a dumbass? Absolutely. Was he kind of a piece of shit of a soldier? Probably. That's not a crime. I was a piece of shit soldier at one point in time. I didn't wander off the base, and then force a giant manhunt or anything. There's always a lot of talk about, that six soldiers were killed during the search for Bergdahl. That is kind of that is not a confirmed kind of, like, yes, this happened. These, that is a number that's thrown around. That is a number that some people have. I've seen the statistics on it back and forth. I've also seen, people argue that none. There's nothing that there were no deaths. What they are always leaving out is how many fucking Afghans did we kill during that time. I don't know. Probably a couple, I'm going to go ahead and say. But we're Americans. Certain lives matter more than other lives to your average American newsreader. So, but anyway, they published this thing and rightly got dragged across the fucking coals for it, because Robert Bales is a fucking war criminal who admitted to it. And, like, this article has all this stuff about, like, well, the bodies weren't inspected. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. He was coerced into giving a confession because they said they were seeking the death penalty. He was not coerced. He got done murdering those people, and then he said, yeah, I murdered those people. There was no coercion. He's a piece of shit. So, thankfully, like I said, everybody kind of dragged them across. And now I found that because I was searching for this, I had to go and find my own screenshot of this tweet so I could pull it down and put it up here, because the link to this article no longer goes to this article. I don't know if the article is scrubbed, but it forwards to a new one that says, a letter from the editor regarding the war crimes opinion story, from Marty Skovlin Jr., who I guess is one of the editors. It's been a while since I've written for Task and Purpose, so I don't know a lot of the people, the upper echelon people. And to be fair, I never really did. I wrote goofy shit about Pauly Shore. I ran it through, like, my editor who ran up the poll and whatever. So I don't know this guy. I know some people at Task and Purpose. I've always had a good relationship with them. This really fucking rubbed me the wrong way. And there's always been like Task and they're like any online publication. There's kind of ebbs and flows and whatnot. Adam Weinstein used to work there, and I know he got there's a whole story with him. Adam's great. You should be following him on Twitter. Adam Weinstein CHI, I think, because now he's up in Chicago. But suffice to say, there's been controversy, but none of them. It's never been a war crime controversy, and the thing about where this all comes from and where this kind of leads to, because Task and Purpose has never been what I am, which is very anti-military. To a point where but not like anti-soldier, we tell you don't join the army, but also we're not going to sit here and, pretend like our entire time in the army was this grueling, every day you're in the struggle session pits getting, somebody's yelling at you about, what makes the green grass grow. And you're like, well, chlorophyll, drill sergeant. And no, it's blood. They don't do that. And you know what? That's actually kind of funny too. So it would be really funny if somebody smarted off to the drill sergeant like that. If you do join, highly recommend it. But we're, while we are like, anti-military, we're not like anti-soldier. We're not anti-troop. We're not anti your experiences. Task and Purpose has always been ones who were just like, we wanted to discuss the good and the bad, right? So talking about troops needing, the barracks are really shitty. The defects are really shitty. All really great and important documentation and stories that are being written. And Task and Purpose has a White House correspondent. All those things are great. So I'm just, I guess this is a long way of me saying that, like, we do have our parallels to one another. I have a great relationship with a lot of the writers over there, past and a couple present. So this was very out of left field. And now this is here's the paragraph that really struck me here. It says, I feel this opinion essay spoke to a topic that I've heard about in hushed tones for a long time. The ROE is too strict, or they sent us there to kill, so that's what we did. Or there's no such thing as a war crime if war itself is a crime, or they aren't war criminals, they're just victims of the system. So on and on and on, often much darker and more brutal, not unlike the combat many experience. And then he says, I don't have to agree with the sentiments to acknowledge that there's a significant portion of combat veterans who feel or have felt that way. It may not run in your social circles, but they exist. Let me tell you something. People were saying that the ROE was too strict from day fucking one. People were saying they sent us there to kill people, so that's what we did since day one. I was in Afghanistan in 2004. All that shit was said constantly. There's no hushed tones about this. It was not an uncommon opinion in the aughts to just say we should just glass Afghanistan completely with nuclear bombs. That was a perfectly acceptable discussion to have around the smoke pit. So there's no hushed tones here, man. There's not maybe, and he's like, it might not run in your social circles, but they exist. We know they exist. We're not in those social circles for a fucking reason, because those people are insane. You know who those people are like the Black Rifle Coffee Company guys. It's the dum-dums who run the Grunt Style and Nine Line and all those stupid military-esque t-shirts. All the stolen valor wear really is what it is. I swear to God, when we were down in the Ozarks, talked about it last week. I saw so many Grunt Style t-shirts. None of them truly military stuff, but a lot of Second Amendment things. So, which, I mean, it's Southern Missouri, fuck it. That's how they roll down there. But anyway, this was a really bad article that they ran from a really shitty person. You don't have to both side stuff ever at all. It's not necessary. You never have to do anything like that. You never have to say look, okay, so if you're aware, I imagine if you're listening to me, you're aware of Lions Led by Donkeys podcast by Joe Kasabian. So Joe recently did a series on Stalingrad with Nate, who's my usual co-host. And Nate and Joe, like, Stalingrad was a absolute meat grinder, like, that has never been seen before or since. Like, literally, like, 2 million people died in 5 months over a city on the Volga River, just churned into powder, to a point where, like, you know, today, as Joe said in it, like, when they were building new things in Volgograd, which is what Stalingrad is now, they still routinely find remains, just because that's how many bodies were there. But the thing is that while, you know, discussing those things and discussing, like, how shitty those conditions are, you know, they mention, like, hey, this does not mean that, you know, we're being sympathetic to anybody. We're not being sympathetic to the Nazis, because they're fucking Nazis. They're Nazis. Fuck them. But, you know, some of the other things, it says they aren't war crimes. They're just victims of the system, or there are no such thing as a war crime when war itself is a crime. First off, you shouldn't be in the military if you think war itself is a crime, because there's an argument that they all are. You know, at least back until World War II, when we actually declared war on people. We don't really do that anymore. But aren't war criminals victims of the system? So my reason for bringing up the Stalingrad series, which you should absolutely go listen to, it's fantastic, is that Joe points out that the vast majority of the Soviets' military was conscripts. More than likely, the vast majority of the Nazis were also conscripts. You know, they were farmers that were kind of plucked out of the fields and put here, or they were, you know, satellite countries that were, you know, gobbled up by the Nazis and be like, no, now you guys need to send people to the front to go do this. Go kill those guys, or we're going to kill you, is the basic thing. So, like, you can kind of feel like, wow, it sucks. That's a shitty situation to find yourself in if you are a, you know, simple Hungarian farmer or a simple Soviet farmer. But you're still a Nazi. So when your face got pushed through a wall with a rocket, I'm still going to cheer for that, because you're still a fucking Nazi. Like, I understand the, you know, it's hard to say what would I do, but if it was like, go do a genocide or I'm going to shoot you in the head, fucking kill me, because I'm not going to be able to live with myself doing a genocide. That's just, also, genocide's wrong, but, you know, you know, you're not going to intimidate me into exterminating people or going to this, you know, shitty war and doing these things against my will in not get me to just say, well, just fucking off me. So anyway, I probably put a lot, I put enough towards this, but it's very irritating to me. It's very irritating that this got any kind of play, that this, from somebody who is a war crime defender, like, this is fucking job, is war crime defender, and they let it go, and did a whole bunch of whataboutism, about shit that's not even the same. Like, even if Bo Bergdahl's going out and got 6 soldiers killed in the aftermath of looking for him, okay, he didn't murder anybody directly. He did not walk in and shoot 16 Afghan civilians, 11 of them children. He didn't murder a child, like a toddler. Robert Bales did, so he can go fuck himself. We don't need to hold any kind of water for him. Clint Lawrence, who got out on a Trump pardon, running around and everything, and we've talked about him at length. So we are very much on the fuck all these war crime doers, obviously, but I don't know. I'm rambling a bit. I'm sorry. It was just a really fucking irritating thing to see come out from Task and Purpose. Like, and then to have the guy come out and defend himself and not just be like, yeah, you're right. Maybe this both sidesism is a thing that isn't necessary. You don't have to do that. You don't have to give the war crime defenders, you know, any column inches. You don't ever have to do that. So, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and jump on to our other thing here. Private King is back. This is interesting because while I was doing the research for this, and by research I mean, you know, my Google searches that I do 5 minutes before I hit the record button, I'm not really seeing a lot of stories all the stories I see are about 5 days ago. Today's the 2nd of October, so they're all about 5 days ago. And it's nothing recent. Like, so King, if you don't remember, was getting sent back to, he's an American soldier getting sent back to Texas, over an assault charge. He was probably going to get, sent back, court-martialed, kicked out and everything. He decided while he was at the airport, slipped away from his handlers somehow, got onto a tour group that tours the DMZ, and then there's this place where it's like, look, we're on South Korea, and look right over there, there's North Korea, and you can see it. And he just fucking took off and went running across the border. So, and like, panic, I'm sure, but he got returned. Now, America does not have any open relationship, open ties discussion, anything like that with North Korea, so they had to do it through Sweden. And there's been a lot of questions, speculation of just like, well, why? And like, honestly, I feel like it came down to North Korea just didn't need him. There was nothing. It was more of a headache. Like, because here's the thing, North Korea at this point, they like to poke the bears. They like to poke all the bears that are around them and everything, as they do. Everybody's doing that. Everybody pokes the bears by shooting a rocket here or doing joint training missions there, and that's just how we do. That's diplomacy these days. But at this point, like, oh shit, we suddenly have like technically a prisoner of war, and that war technically is still going. So, like, he was held in custody. Technically, I think he's a prisoner of war. That's interesting. But, they probably found he was not really all that useful. They're going to start getting phone calls all the time with this guy. So they just kind of, like, booted him back over the Chinese border and said, we're done with it. So we'll see. Sorry, I'm knocking on my thing here. We'll see where this goes. We might not see anything else from Travis King. It could be that he just kind of fades off into the distance. That would be the smart thing to do. He's like, the world of hurt he was already in is going to hurt a lot more. But like, Travis, if you're one of the like 300 people who watch this, chin up, man. You'll get through it. In like 5 years, we'll all be laughing at this. I mean, you might not be, but I will. It's still kind of funny. Glad you're back safe though, bro. Glad you came home safe. Nobody likes the shitty soldier who beats on people, but you're still a soldier, and we still got to take care of you whether we want to or not. So, welcome home, you piece of shit. Get the fuck out of the military. All right, so here's what I've been consuming this week. It hasn't been too much more stuff. I was really hoping that I'd be doing a lot more than what I am doing. It does keep me on my toes though. It makes me consider the media that I'm consuming and for what reason and what I'm getting into. So the first one I am going to talk about is Enemy at the Gates. I did not know this was a book. I thought it was just a terrible movie. Terrible in that, like, historically completely inaccurate and has literally the worst sex scene in any movie I've ever seen. But like, if you like watching Nazis get shot, it's in that respect, it's pretty cool. But this stems from Joe, as I mentioned earlier, doing doing Battle of Stalingrad. So I always appreciate that they give that Joe is really good at giving, like, here's the books that Joe reads that are really dense but very full of information. And has a lot of really great stuff, and it's like, but here's the one that you probably want to read that'll give you some good information, but not make you fall asleep. That is Enemy at the Gates. So if you are listening to what Joe's got going on and you want to read more, so far for me, Enemy at the Gates has been fantastic. Very easy to keep up with. Been a while since I've read any like real military book. Probably been more than a year or so. And I'm at a weird crossroads with reading because, like, I kind of want to do fiction and I kind of want to do nonfiction, but I just never know what specifically I want to do. And then what ends up happening is I go back to reading weird manga, or I just don't read anything, and I play I do my puzzle books. So I don't know, but I'm glad that I'm back in on this one. Great book. Highly recommend it if you're into Stalingrad, want to learn more about it. If you're like, I would like to know more, but I don't want to read a book, Lions Led by Donkeys, as you covered on that one as well. And then the TV show that my wife and I have been watching, Stage. This is she found it because she's really into Good Omens, that has David Tennant and Michael Sheen in it. We both were. I love the books. I love these two in the TV show and everything. So, but this is a book. I'm sorry. This is a TV show that is shot during COVID. So it's like all shot on webcams, and a lot of it feels improv. A lot of it is improv. So there's a lot that's improv, but like that's also kind of the joke. Like we're in season 2, and it's being very meta on itself about what is and isn't. But it gets a lot of really great people. Like Michael Palin was on it. They got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost on the last one that we watched. So it's really good. I love David Tennant. He's my favorite of the new Doctors, and Michael Sheen he's been in a lot of stuff. Like he's one of those guys that like. He doesn't look at him. I mean, he's got a huge beard. He's very, very gray looking, but he looks like a 50-year-old man, but which he is. But I think of him in Good Omens, where he's very, he's a very fancy angel lad in Good Omens. Very, very effeminate. So it's a fun little juxtaposition there. So it's on BritBox, or you can, find it in other places. The episodes are really short too. And, if you like these guys, it might be good for you. Like I said, my wife found it because, it would come up on her Instagram because she, likes, she follows Good Omens. So, this stuff kind of comes up. And so we, got a subscription to BritBox, which I'm very disappointed in, honestly. Like, I was hoping there was going to be, like, more stuff on there, but it's not. I don't know. Maybe there's, like, stuff I was expecting things that are kind of more American. Like, I know Doctor Who's not going to be on there, but that's all on HBO. But I was just expecting, I don't know, more of a crossover there. I don't know. But then, they do make the joke of when Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are on, it's just like, no, America knows these guys. They like them. America doesn't like you guys. So I like this. It was a great show. And one other thing. So I've been asked a question a few times, and I never really know how to answer this question. And I haven't done the ask a dad thing in a while. Just I can solicit questions and everything. I'm more than happy to take questions and answer them on here as well if you want. You can send them to sergeantjoker@hellofawaytodie.com, or you can DM me on Twitter, X, Blue Sky. I'm Army Strang on all of them. But somebody always asks, like, what's something that like you should just have, like not even a dad, like every person, like a good thing to just have in the house, so I wanted to start with something very simple, very basic, very cheap. But I have used probably like hundreds of these over my lifetime. I need to get a new box, and I can get a box of like 100 of these for like $4. And what they are is they are shims. That's what they are. These little tiny balsa wood. Here we go. Balsa wood wedges here. So I've got a couple. I got these big ones, and I got these smaller ones too. So, you can see, there's little tapering there. So I have used shims to level things. I worked in a restaurant for a long time, and if you've worked in a restaurant for a long time, at some point in time, you too have shoved sugar packets underneath underneath the legs of the tables or something, because one of them's wobbly, because either the floor is shit or the table is shit, or they're both just shit in ways that do not complement each other. So these would have always been really really handy. But I've used these like if I need to like fill a gap. Used a lot of these building the kitchen just to get things level. The pod shack has shims that it kind of sits on. Heavier duty shims than these. These are like cheap little thin balsa wood. You can easily just break these up. And I have a lot of these that I have, broken and snapped in half, just because I need something this long, but I'm, wedging it underneath a bookcase and I only need like this much space. So you can break them up. Like I said, they're super cheap. I would always recommend, even if you don't own your house, you might have good use for some of these. You can buy them at any hardware store, your Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever. I don't know where, because I only ever buy them because they're on an end cap. It's hey, shims, right? You need these. They're cheap. Have some. So I need to refresh my shims, but I have used these in this house. I've used them in my old house. I've always had use for shims. You will probably find use for them because at some point in time, you're going to find a gap that needs to be filled. One that I'll tell you about too is I used to have in my old kitchen in this house, we had the coffee mugs were hanging underneath one of the upper cabinets. And when I drilled up into the cabinet, screw went right on up into the thing. Just into my glasses that I have stored in there. So put a couple shims in there, gave it a little bit more so it could still grip onto that wood, but not go all the way through it. Like I said, the new kitchen, a lot of these were used in, if you took all the doors off, all the cabinet doors off and got down and looked at the way the countertop sits, it sits on a lot of shims. And that's normal. That's, there's nothing wrong with that, because that's how you get it to be even while you're going along. So shims, buy shims, get shims, put them in your house. You will probably within 6 months find a use for them. If you don't, then it's because you forgot that you had shims in your house. You come across them and you think, oh yeah, a shim would have helped there. So get some of these. That's all I have. If you've got anything else, like I said, that you want to ask, or any of these that you think might be a good one for us to talk about, we'll get to basic things like screwdrivers, hammers, all that stuff. I kind of want to do this about the things that you don't get in the my first toolkit, like pop it open, here's all your sockets, here's some screwdrivers, Phillips, flathead, things like that. And I want to keep it things that are kind of cheap. Like I said, these are really cheap. I'll probably at some point talk about the rubber mallet that I have. I might do an expensive one. Though it wasn't that expensive, but my impact drill. Just little things that I have found that I've picked up that I feel like other people would probably benefit from, depending on where you live, depending on your living situations, of course. An impact drill, if you live in new construction that's all wood and drywall, an impact drill is not useful to you whatsoever. For me, I live surrounded by plaster and lath, so I need an impact drill to kind of hammer through some of that stuff. So we'll talk about we'll talk about all kinds of stuff. But shims, buy shims. For our readings today, we're taking a step back from the enlisted times. I dug through. We'll get back to them, but I think we did 3 weeks in a row. So I wanted to give a few others their due. So I did find something that is kind of this one only has one issue that I can find, and it's called the Bacon. It's very Air Force heavy, and it kind of surrounds Norton Air Base in San Bernardino, California. So I'm not 100% sure where this comes from. Some of these don't, they don't have a Wikipedia page, that necessarily. So, and not all of these things have been uploaded to here. So maybe there's more. I firmly believe there are more issues just because of how well put together and its good layout and design here and everything. And it's got Doonesbury jokes and it's got, but it's not full on professional because it still has lifer of the month and open letter to the commander, which we'll get to those too. And it also has a really beat up looking Uncle Sam in it, which is a lot of fun. So our the first one we're going to read is, I always search for a masthead, and in lieu of a masthead, there is usually something that is some kind of from the editors or from the writers or something, so you can get kind of an idea of who we're talking to here. So this just says Mom and Pop, and March on March, Peace on Purpose. Mom and Pop is the pseudonyms of whoever puts this out. In the banner, of the bacon, Mom and Pop are mentioned, so I assume this is maybe a married couple, or maybe just a man and a woman who got together and put together this thing, or maybe it's just a completely nonsensical nom de plume. I don't know. Anyway, Mom and Pop. Well, an underground newspaper, for GIs no less. Will wonders never cease? But, you ask, what could possibly cause a group of normally well-balanced, clean-cut, red-blooded American kids to produce such stinking, rotten, subversive, obviously communist-incited documents such as the Bacon? And why was the first issue so cleverly disguised? To answer the second question first, and the first question second, which is the air farce way, and that's FARCE. We, Mom and Pop, did not believe that the first issue would reach you, the normal run-of-the-mill GI, in any way other than this. And as for why the paper itself is written, we, Mom and Pop again, believe that you, the normal run-of-the-mill GI again, have not been told the entire truth concerning your rights as a citizen, as well as a GI, and that with the existing paper, our competitor, the Beacon, you have not had the freedom to express your feelings, no matter what they are. Thus, this paper is an open forum for ideas from any source and articles submitted, and will be printed exactly as submitted. So impress your friends with your brilliance or your stupidity, however the case may be, and write all your ideas, bitches, and gripes to Mom and Pop, and we'll print them for you. And I do wish there were more of this one, just because it's a well put together anti-war zine without trying to be too professional. So that was Mom and Pop, hearing from the creators of the Bacon. So let's do the open letter to the commander. Gotta love these. Nobody likes their commanders in these, and for perfectly good reason. This is still during drafting periods. I believe this is the 1970 is when this came out, maybe 71. So people are still getting drafted, and this is what happens when you draft people. You get all of these shitty little intellectuals like me now. Like, if you drafted me, obviously I joined when I was 17 because I was incredibly stupid. So let's not hold that against me. If you tried to draft me now, I'd say, well, first off, I don't have cartilage, and second off, no. So it's understandable these guys don't like their commander. So we, the people of the Bacon, wish to congratulate you on receiving the reins of command of the 22nd Bomb Wing. It must be quite a boost for your already inflated ego. The last base dummy said that you were an outstanding American as well as a great Air Force officer. Well, General Perone, excuse me, Colonel Perone, you have yet to get your hot little hands on the precious star, huh? As a great American, you can appreciate this literacy exercise of freedom of speech and press. The Bill of Rights rules this land, not the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or have you forgotten? An aside here, no, you're under the UCMJ. You don't really get constitutional rights when you're in the military. Now, again, these guys were probably drafted, so I'm still 100% behind them. But so anyway, let's go. Of course, you will call this newspaper detrimental to the mission because the people of March prisons may learn the truth. We saw you, D.C., one man in 3 days because he was suspected of dispensing anti-war material. I bet you were really pissed off when the base was saturated with leaflets the very same day of your discharge of his discharge. Your reaction, discharge, a WAF, a WAF for handing out materials outside of the base. It isn't working, Birdman. We are and we will call out the air pigs and the OSI and then shit in your pants. Look in the mirror. Is that another gray hair on your regulation forehead? Expecting a few more. From the Flying Taco. So the Colonel Michael Peroni. He kicked a guy out for distributing anti-war stuff, which, like, every one of these things has a kind of a bumper on it. And this one, it says, this paper cannot legally be taken from you according to DoD Directive 1325.6. Possession of unauthorized material may not be prohibited. So, this is loving their freedom of speech. Love the energy here. who doesn't want to shit talk? If you were not in the military, just think of a shitty boss that you had, that you were always like, man, I wish I could have just, in an open letter, I wish I could have written this down and known this motherfucker was going to read it, but no, he'll never find out it was me that wrote it. This is that shit right there. It's a real good fucking feeling to knock out. Okay, so let's do an actual story in here. This one is called, it says WAF Gung Ho. WAF, WAF, is Women Air Force. It's a program that kind of started in like the 50s, I believe, to get more women into the Air Force, and so it's just kind of a shorthand for an air woman in the Air Force. This zine seems to have talked about them a lot, but never, at no point in time, I had to look it up to see what exactly this was, and then read through it. And it's, okay, I understand what they're talking about. It's about sexism in the military. So this is called WAF Gung Ho. I've been told that GIs think that all WAF are gung ho. Please believe me, they aren't. I know better than anyone else because I am a WAF and I am not gung ho. Many guys who come into the Air Force complain that they were deceived by the recruiters. I know of one airman who thought he was enlisting for 2 years right up until the time he was sworn in. But most of you could never even come close to matching the tales of woe with a WAF. First off, a WAF is a prize catch for a recruiter. For a certain reason, the Air Force really wants women to enlist, and will go to any lengths to get them. I originally went to the recruiting station with a girlfriend who wanted to join. The red carpet was rolled out until I signed the paper. I was chauffeured about in a government car, taken to get to dinner, and hours on end were spent talking to me, brainwashing me. Being deceived, I enlisted, even though my girlfriend didn't. And I don't know if this is, in what way girlfriend is meaning here, but this was certainly a time when, if you were a lesbian, you were not joining the military. At least not if your recruiters thought you were. So being deceived, I enlisted, even though my girlfriend didn't. My recruiter had hit me with a barrage of lies that sounded appealing and reasonably true. I was interested in educational opportunities, so he told me all about all the wonderful programs available and the extensive, high-quality training the Air Force provides. Of course, he didn't tell me I would be working shift work and be unable to enroll in any on-campus courses, my main interest. As far as the wonderful job training, I attended 14-week tech. School was the first week being KP, the rest was a concentrated Mickey Mouse course and that required no studying because the incompetent instructors taught only what we had to know to pass the test. I really can't feel too honored at being an honor student. Before I joined the Air Force, I was interested in nursing, and I debated on going to school to become a licensed practical nurse. My recruiter informed me that I would be an LPN when I came out of the service. To me, this sounded like a rather nice deal, since I didn't have the money to go to school, without acquiring a loan. Of course, he really meant I would have the same training as an LPN, but I would have to go to school when I got out if I wanted a license. This is very true, even today. Like, you can be a nurse and join, but the nursing, what the military needs and what certifications, there we go. What certifications need and what the military needs to say you're good are two different things. I guess every WAF that joins is handed the old line about how much they will be able to travel. Military hops are talked about as if they were jets leaving for all corners of the earth each day, just begging for passengers. But somehow I can't find one. As far as the glamour goes, my baggy uniforms just don't make it. Recruiting propaganda never pictures anyone in their fatigues. I wonder why. I can remember explicitly how I was assured that I would never undergo inspections after basic training, how my job would last 8 hours a day, and that I would be free. The mandatory GI parties once a week, more often if we failed inspection, and being on 24-hour call for hospital alert, I began to feel lied to. I guess what hurts the most about being a WAF is the reputation we automatically inherit when we put on the uniform. I was assured by my recruiter that WAFs were highly respected by men in the Air Force. We would be treated well and placed on a pedestal to be admired and protected. By the way, we can protect ourselves, recruiter man. I know now, however, that most men in the Air Force think we are either lesbians or whores, or, to quote one airman, government-paid whores. I had never considered myself being naive before I joined the Air Force. I honestly thought I had heard all the bad words that existed. However, I've been called some things since I came in and had to be asked the meaning of every word. I've never before been treated so rudely and had found much harder to adjust to. Most of you guys have sisters or girlfriends. How would you react if she was walking down the street and somebody said to her, well, look at the fucking pussy? It takes a long time to get over that initial pain. Now that I am in this 4-year prison term with no time out for good behavior, I'm going to demand my rights and fight any way possible for the oppression handed down to me. I refuse to meekly stand by and accept the role the Air Force wishes to hand off. The Air Force may think that because I'm a woman, I can't think. My command may tell me that it is a man's world. My superiors may inform me that I'm a neurotic because I don't like the shame that I was tricked into. But to hell with them. I'm a human being. I can think and I can act. So WAF, let's get together. And guys, support us as separate individuals capable of having a mind of our own. Seize the time. And this is written by Kathy from Chanute Air Force Base, originally printed in a 4-year bummer from 1971. Look, Kathy, I get it. I 100% like, this is absolutely a story I've heard. A story I've heard from men, from women who join the military. It's a story that still gets told. All of these things still happen. And, you know, the old soldier in me has that whole, like, you know, well, fucking suck it up, Buttercup. Like, yeah, you got lied to. We all got lied to. But what if they didn't lie to us? And I will say my recruiter did not lie to me. I was always 100% with my, figure my recruiter, because he was public affairs. So when he was going through, he actually, when he got out of recruiting, he was in the unit that I was in. He was an all right guy. But no, he told me up front, he's like, look, I'm not going to lie to you. Basic training sucks, but you're going to be in public affairs. It's like, you're going to Fort Benning. Fort Benning really fucking sucks. I can't get you anything else. But he said, look, when you're at Benning, you're gonna. He said it'd be like a little badge of honor. And to be fair, until I actually started deploying, yes, saying like, well, I went to Fort Benning was like the only fucking thing I had, because everybody called it Relaxin' Jackson, right? But look, basic training is basic training. Like, the only difference is if you're an MP or infantry, because they have their own kind of basic training, because it's all in, smashed into itself. But I feel for Kathy here. I really do. It sucks to think like I'm going to join the Air Force and I'm going to, I'm going to find myself. I'm going to be able to educate myself. I'm going to be able to take things from the Air Force and apply them into the real world and become a better person afterwards. And you should absolutely expect that, because that's what was, kind of given to you. I'm also going to tell you, though, that, like, when you're in a medical profession, you're going to work fucking shift work. And when you are the low person on the totem pole, you're going to work the shitty shift work. That's the way that shit works. Like, this could have been out of the enlisted times, honestly, with the crabbing going on here. And again, I nothing but sympathy. It sucks to be lied to. And it sucks that you're learning that this is what nursing is also. Like, this is, I would say that, like, being medical in the military is a really good, forward progression in whatever you want to do. Officer, enlisted, either one. They're both highly sought after, very well needed. But I think the promotion prospects kind of suck if you're enlisted. Well, if you're like a 68 whiskey, there's all kinds of different things. But look, if you want to get your LPN and then join the military, don't do it the other way around. That way, like, when you go in, you're already used to, like, you're not going to be complaining about shift work. You know that you're going to be doing shift work. You're not going to be able to do the underwater basket weaving classes that you want to do. So, Kathy, I hope everything worked out for you. I hope you're striving, surviving. It's like 50 years later, so you're in your 70s if you are still with us. But I hope you don't hold that chip on your shoulder for all of this, because some people do. Some people get really, like, they feel like they were lied to in the military, because they were, and they are just mad about it, like, for a long time. And maybe this doesn't happen anymore. I'm not sure. I don't know, because I do not understand a third of the words that anybody under the age of 23 says. But if you are a junior enlisted who was not alive when 9/11 happened, I would love to have you on, honestly. Like, if you know somebody who would be interested, like somebody who maybe did join when they're 18. Maybe you're still in. You don't have to shit talk the military. I am honestly curious how basic training works now. I'm honestly curious how, like the last thing I did was PRT. Like how are you training for the overhead yeet, or are you anymore? So I don't know. And also, do you feel like you were lied to by your recruiter, or did you? I feel like there's a lot more hoops that you have to jump through these days to get into the military. Honestly, like they would take a lot of people, but we've got this. We've talked about the recruiting woes that the American military has today, and they're multifaceted and varied. There's no one thing. But back then you could join up a lot easier. But I'm going to tell you, if you are kind of salty about that, let it go. It's not worth it. We all got lied to at some point in time. That's just that you now have the shared experience as the rest of us. That is the bacon. I will dig around, see if I can find some other stuff. But I like this one. It's got a lot of like real shitty, like not shitty as in bad writing, but like, people who just really hate the military, hate the Air Force, writing about it. I like that shit. That's some good stuff. So we're gonna try to find some more of this. All right. So once again, another week in the bag. Thank you guys for watching, for listening, however you are consuming. A few other things I wanted to add on. I have a bonus episode coming out, 33rd County, with Irish Tom. He's the only Tom we have, but he's very Irish, so we just call him Irish Tom. But he and Carrie have been doing their own little series called 33rd County, where they talk about the Irish and the American Irish kind of divide. Carrie is from Boston, very Irish, very Catholic himself, but not from Ireland proper itself. So Carrie made him watch Boondock Saints, which Tom has never seen, and I think it broke Tom's brain. So that's if that's not out this week, it's going to be out next week on Monday. I am going to be interviewing Brian Quinby for a dad chat this week, so look for that as for our regular episode. And also, if you're not aware of some other world news, other things kind of happening, there's been kind of a new genocide happening in Armenia from Azerbaijan. Joe is Armenian. He was living in Armenia, and obviously the place is very near and dear to his heart. Being an Armenian, being a genocide scholar, so he has been taking donations for Armenian refugees. He's talked about it in his show. I want to mention on mine as well. We'll have a little bumper on it, and links also for you to donate as well. Just if anything that you can, if not, it's understandable, of course, but it's these people have been genocided before, and don't as Joe and I discussed. If you did not listen to our last episode, ethnic cleansing is just a fancied up way of saying genocide. It makes them sound dirty when you're saying you're cleansing, so it's not a great word to use. I'm not trying to police anybody, but after hearing him talk about that, now when I hear the term ethnic cleansing, I think that's I hear it now. So anyway, that link's down there. Link will also be on the regular show. Thank you all for watching. Also, I had a really good Davy Crockett tweet this week. So the pins are on sale, $2 off the pins. That's just a little PNG that I had. I didn't know they had those. This could do transparencies, but those pins are going to be on sale until, I don't know, probably the rest of the week, I assume, or maybe until next week. I'm not sure. I put things on sale, and then generally I forget that I put them on sale, and then I'll go in and be like, oh, I should put this on sale, and maybe take these other things off. That's the kind of like shop owner I am. Is the shop owner who's just like, the things are on sale, I guess. Would you like them? It's sure. Mark it down. But just to clear things out, I have a whole clearance section of stuff. So go check all that stuff out. Those links are also down below.